going to? Okay, cool. I think we're going to all of them. We'll take a second and just be like, gonna like repost from a couple places and be like, oh my god, we're back.
Yeah, we're live on Twitter.
Give me a second.
So for those of us just tuning in, we were midway through a conversation about cluster mempool, the new proposal, or the old proposal, but recently added to Bitcoin Core, just recently merged, will be released in the next release of that describes mempool policy. It's a implementation. It changes how the mempool works. It's the most significant change in Bitcoin in quite some time. Some brilliant stroke of computer science from SIPA himself. And we are talking about what it changes.
Yeah, one second.
Yeah, I guess as a quick recap while we're getting set up. In the past, we had the current mempool design has different rules for how it treats or how it collects new blocks. So imagine the mempool is just a line of transactions waiting to get into a block. So there's a few different things that we have to do to that line of transactions. The first is we need to take the first people waiting in the line, the first transactions, and include them into a block. We have a set of rules mempool for how to do that. Well, sometimes if the mempool gets too big, we also have to remove transactions from the back of the line. So the back of the line is what we call eviction. That's if we have to trim transactions out of the mempool to make room for others, just because there's a maximum size of the mempool so it doesn't grow forever. So the rules that we use to evict transactions from the back of the line are different from the rules that we use to evict transactions from the front of the line. But really, they shouldn't. Like there are some crazy cases where the eviction rules can accidentally evict a transaction that's in the front of the line. So what cluster mempool is attempting to do is to unify these rules together so that the mempool behaves properly in all situations consistently, and this will allow us to support more complicated transactions such as those in layer 2 protocol, so we can make Lightning more efficient. We can get rid of bespoke rules like the CPFP carve-out rule, and it should allow more complicated layer 2 designs like ARC to be possible. Stephen.
Yeah, we were just kind of, before we had the AV issues, talking about channel pinning attacks. And, I was going over this idea that you can't have a node just accept endless amounts of child transactions, because if you do, it's a denial of service vector. It's like, if I can, why can't I then create a million child transactions that are totally valid by consensus and broadcast them to nodes and expect that nodes are going to process these? And while they might be consensus valid, these are the kinds of situations that, one, a node has to spend its time validating the signatures on these transactions, but it also has to consider this long chain of transactions when it's trying to, determine whether to evict stuff from the mempool or whether to include stuff in a block template or not. So there are a limit on the number of child pays for parent transactions you can have, and I think that's 25. However, this created a problem with Lightning called channel pinning attacks. It's like, if you and me have a Lightning channel together, you turn evil one day, you decide that when we're closing the Lightning channel, you are going to spend from your portion of the channel and spend and spend and spend until you've used up all 25 child slots. And that means and if you do that at a low enough fee rate, effectively our channel close is stuck in limbo in the mempool.
Yeah, like I can't make the extra transaction on top of that to correct it. Like your
Yes.
error is stuck, it's pinned because you've hit the limit, and there's a rule saying that you can't go beyond the limit.
And so the carve out was this thing to prevent pinning attacks. And it says, well, okay, if my evil channel partner filled it up with 25 25 children transactions, there's still a carve out. There's still room for me to make a child transaction broadcasting from my output in the channel close. And that little carve out would prevent the channel pinning. However, under the cluster mempool design, there is not a child pays for parent carve out. It's not, again, this gets into the territory where the whole linearization stuff is a little too much for my brain, but I just don't have the formal training to really understand that fully. But it's just not really feasible to do the CPFP carve out in this mempool design.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, yes, so the CPFP carve out rule cannot exist. I think this is kind of a good thing. It's like the CPFP carve out rule, in my opinion, is one of the grossest like policy features of Bitcoin. Like it feels very hacky to have this special rule of how to have transactions or how to process or allow certain transactions just for this one tiny, very specific case for Lightning. So the fact that we no longer have the CPFP carve out is good. Unfortunately, until we have, I think it's like transaction V3 or like
Oh, it's here.
There's something we're waiting on, and we have another stopgap solution until then called truck transactions, which is yeah.
Well, so I was actually hoping to get into that. I'm
Okay.
actually really excited that I feel like I can, I feel like I've Grok pay to anchor and truck transactions right now.
Okay, tell us.
Yeah, so and I'll say this is an achievement for me because I've been to like multiple BitDevs meetups where like really smart people have tried to educate me about pay to anchor, and I just like had a real difficult time understanding it the first time, and then when they started using the word truck, that also like started confusing me. So I've been having a rough time. So but I finally feel like I wrapped my head around it.
Yeah, congratulations.
Okay,
You get a medal.
well, it just means you just got to keep going to BitDevs meetups and asking the dumb questions, so to speak, even when you don't understand them. So
Yeah, this is hard even for gods like Stephen.
So where should we start? So it's like, okay, so we have this idea pay to anchor, right? It's kind of weird because it's basically this transaction that anyone can spend. And like, if we go to mempool.space, I want to see if I can just pull one of these things up here. I think it's like BC1P fees is the address. Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a pay to anchor one here.
Wow.
So it actually has the word like fees like kind of baked into the address. And pay to anchor is this really strange like output type, as opposed to pay to SegWit, pay to Taproot, all these kinds of stuff. So pay to anchor is spendable by anyone. It's like this really tiny, it takes up less space on chain because you don't have to provide like a signature, right? To prove that you can, you don't have to provide a signature to prove that you can spend it. It's spendable by anyone. It sounds a little scary though, right?
Yeah. And also, this has been in Bitcoin for a while, so this is using something called sig hash anyone can spend. So like these have been around, like we've used them in
I think it's been around for about a year.
well, they've been around since Lightning, like anchor channels. So like anchor outputs, like the 330 step anchor output, which is used for CPFP, are anyone can spend addresses
Yes.
after a certain time so that people can clean them up and sweep them.
Yeah. So what was confusing to me was that there's a couple things. What was confusing to me is like why you would want this output that anyone can spend. And so the kind of unlock for me was remembering that, okay, a Lightning channel, when you close it, it's going to have multiple outputs. There's going to be one that goes to me. There's going to be another output that goes to my channel partner for their side of the channel. And then the idea is that ordinarily the way we would have done it before is we would have carved out a little bit for fees from either side of our channel. In this case, we're not going to do that. We're just going to make this very, very tiny, anchor output. It's going to be a negligible amount of Bitcoin. And what that then unlocks is the ability to do these basically child pays for parent fee bumps, where I can spend from that anchor output but use another output to spend more Bitcoin. and I can use that to provide a fee to the miner. So this makes it so that we don't need to know the fee at the time of channel close. And the idea is that, like, well, what if someone tries to spend my pay to anchor output? Well, it's like they end up benefiting you if they do spend it, because they're fee bumping your transaction for you, which is pretty clever. So that was like one unlock for me, was understanding that. The next kind of one was like kind of understanding truck, topologically restricted until confirmation. And so, like, in this context, topology like refers to like the topology of this like kind of graph you can imagine of different transactions spending from each other. Child transactions, parent transactions, all that. You'll hear the word topology come up a lot in the like cluster mempool design. So the topologically restricted until confirmation like has this kind of rule that basically is like, you can't, it basically just restricts it so that you can't do these descendant trees of child transactions now. And V3 transactions are how we like truck as a way of thinking about it is just like more a methodology. V3 is like the implementation of it. That's the way I understand it, at least. V3 Bitcoin transactions are like the implementation of truck. And so if you're using a Bitcoin node that supports like V3 transactions, then what that means is I can broadcast a pay to anchor output. I can broadcast a transaction that has a pay to anchor output. And there's like this rule that pay to anchor, you're only supposed to relay transactions where the pay to anchor spends to another V3 transaction. You can't make a pay to anchor output pay to a V2 transaction. Like, it's consensus valid, but it's not like mempool policy valid. So if you're a node that supports V3, you see a transaction that tries to take a pay to anchor output and spend it to a V2 transaction, you don't relay it. If you see a pay to anchor output that's spending to a V3 transaction, you do relay it. But these V3 transactions are topologically restricted until confirmation, and you can't do these long descendant trees from that. And so that's how this newer, in the cluster mempool design, that's supposed to be the solution, like the alternative to the CPFP carve out. That's my way of it. That's my understanding.
Interesting. Yeah. Still, the idea of truck transaction. So like, yeah, we were saying I'm learning. I didn't realize that was like all the case. Like, I thought truck transactions were like another stopgap rule about saying that we're only going to allow transactions of a certain like flavor or shape for this certain purpose until something else comes.
If there is something else, I'm not sure. You might need to check the roadmap for that. But
Yeah, I can't remember. But yeah, truck was like the idea of truck of having these topologically restricted transactions and having special rules for them is effectively just like a replacement for CPU or for the carve out rule.
What is going on here? Just talking about cluster mempool. Got a comment from the audience, Rithvik. Yeah, well, I don't know. We'll have to do our homework on that one a little bit more. Then I'm not sure if there's something else that's like coming. If somebody knows, let us know. Zap and boost us on fountain.fm. Let us know.
Yeah, the moral of the story is, we're in pursuit of simplifying all of the rules and aligning everything. We still have a bit of complexity. That's kind of my takeaway from this.
Yeah,
is like it's still not like it's definitely directional. It's in the right direction. We can now be confident to support more complicated transactions. Yet it's still pretty complex how it works, but it should be unified. And at the very least, we can have confidence that we're building towards something that is better than what we have today.
And that's kind of a good segue into this this post from Bastian from Async. Sorry, Grok is like getting in the way. 1 year later, we now have two compatible implementations supporting zero-fee channels. That's Eclair and LDK, and the spec is final.
Let's get hyped.
And so he put out a huge thanks to Gloria and InstaGibbs, who made it possible by working on mempool policy. And so, yes, it is now, what he's saying here is that the Bolt spec is final. And I guess it would need to be, I guess it's capable of being ratified now because there's interoperability between two implementations, but it does appear to be an open PR. But it's just kind of, goes to show like how all of these complicated pieces fit together. It's like we have paid anchor outputs now. We have V3 truck transactions. We have ephemeral dust, and now we have cluster mempool, and we can do things like zero fee Lightning channel closes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think like when people talk about like Bitcoin being restrictive for protocol design, like when people complain about Bitcoin being too restrictive, they're usually talking about covenants and they're usually talking about opcodes. But Lightning has been pushing against the wall of how the mempool works for years. Like we have Lightning has been hampered and it's been kneecapped by just how the mempool would evict transactions of certain kinds. So it was unsafe to use certain pre-signed transaction architectures. So if people are wondering what Bitcoin developers work on other than covenants, this is a big example. The mempool policy, while it was complex, prohibited layer twos like Lightning to be able to design protocols as they wanted to. So this is huge for Lightning.
You're right. Well, should we why don't we dip into some fun stuff now?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So that's enough cluster mempool. Any final thoughts about cluster mempool?
Well, it's just cool to see something go from proposal all the way through discussion and implementation, and then about to be launched. So it's exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, one other thing I'm excited about is like some of my friends that are maybe more academically minded really respect cluster mempool from like an academic's perspective. Like apparently, cluster mempool is like provably optimal in every one of these situations. Like the algorithm that we've settled on that we're still not, it's not like we're merging it, it's going to be in use, but perhaps all the bells and whistles aren't finished. But the core structure of the algorithm will never have to be changed again for all of eternity. It's like provably the best thing possible, which I think is very cool that we can have software that's like provably correct. Yeah.
Provably correct for all of eternity. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got? I got a grab bag of different news items I've pulled up. I thought this caught my eye. A tweet from Core Lightning. It said release candidate 1 for Core Lightning version 25.12 is live. And they list a couple different features, but one that caught my eye was experimental LSPS2 support.
Ooh.
That is the LSP spec version 2.
The word spec is in LSP, the LSP spec acronym?
I probably just misspoke there. Lightning Service Provider Spec 2.
Okay, so S. The second S in LSPS2 is the word spec. Okay, no,
Yes,
sorry.
that's correct.
Cool. Very exciting. So what is new about LSPS2?
I mean, so there was a project a couple years ago called balls.dev, and it was funny, balls.dev. I mean, the website may still be up, but it was Bitcoin and Lightning layer spec. I think some of the people from the BitKit project were kind of kicking it off, but it was like an open source thing. They were trying to build a Lightning service provider spec. The idea being that like right now you can go to like websites and be like, I want to buy a channel. I'm going to give you my node pub key and I'm going to pay an invoice and ask you to open a channel to me. But that's kind of clunky, right? If you have all these different websites you have to go to. So like, wouldn't it be great if there's just like interoperable spec so that there's just kind of like an open, like interoperable way to find different LSPs and ask them for channels.
Yeah, this would create like a marketplace for liquidity, not just a bunch of individual service providers.
Exactly. And I don't know exactly what happened there. There was some work done for specs in that repo. And then eventually it moved over to like the Blips repo, the Bitcoin Lightning Improvement Proposal, whatever. So the things that like sit alongside the bolts. So there's now a new version of the LSP spec that's there. And so that's really cool because I think uh, you know, we've certainly seen some major LSPs go down over the past couple of years, and I think it would be really, really good for there to be like an interoperable way to just get liquidity when you need it. And so, yeah, I don't have a lot to deep dive on there. I just think it's just like directionally cool.
Sweet. Yeah, I remember when people were first hyping up the LSP spec. Is there anything noteworthy that's new about LSPS2 over LSPS1?
No, I would need to deep dive into those blips, which I have not done.
Cool.
So here's an interesting story. This was the subject of plenty of laughs in various Slack, Telegram, and other chat venues this week. JP Morgan Chase closes Strike CEO Jack Muller's accounts, spurring crypto debanking concerns.
What? Bitcoiners getting debanked?
Actually, I don't have it on screen right here, but there was a funny tweet from Jack Muller's where he got it framed, like the rejection letter.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What a renegade.
Yeah, it was so in August. I'm just reading out verbatim from this Block article here. In August, President Trump signed an executive order that penalizes firms that debank crypto-related businesses. Quote, the Trump administration has already ended Operation Choke Point 2.0 once and for all by working to end regulatory efforts that deny banking services the digital assets industry, Trump's working group on digital assets markets said back in July. So it's like, you know, nobody knows if is it actually like Operation, you know, Choke Point still live, or is it for something else?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, is there anything specific that prompted his debanking, or was it a blindside?
I mean, I don't think anybody knows, but what keeps coming up is this video where he kind of he says somebody is asking him in an interview like, what do you think about like what Jamie Dimon said about Bitcoin? And he's like, I don't care what Jeffrey Epstein's banker said about Bitcoin.
Okay, so the subtext is that this is a retaliatory measure by J.P. Morgan for Jack Mallers, yeah, calling J.P. Morgan a shelter for pedophiles.
Yeah. Oh, we actually got a comment from the chat here from the Tesh BTC. LSPS2 is just-in-time channels.
Oh, cool.
Sweet. Thanks for that context, Nitesh.
So what do you think do you think that's actually the case? Do you think that this was a retaliatory measure against Jack Mallers for speaking out against the tyranny of JP Morgan?
I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it's so hard to know with these things.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like like if some rando gets a letter in the mail saying we're closing down your bank account, it could just be like, you know, oh, this you went to Coinbase and bought a little bit of Bitcoin or something like that, and you know they see it and flag you. It's like, you know, we have a general policy that we close anybody's accounts that has to do with exchange, like a crypto exchange, right? So like there's like if it's just a random person, it seems kind of like, okay, you just got kind of caught in the system. When it's like a CEO and kind of like a more public figure, it feels a little bit weirder. Like you got to know that if you're going to close the accounts of someone who's like a public figure who goes on NBC all the time, like you got to think that's going to hit the news.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if JP Morgan, yeah, probably could expect that this would blow up on social media, given also that like Bitcoiners are very excitable about talking about debanking as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, sure they saw that coming and made a calculated decision to nail him for either, you know, his insult or otherwise.
Yeah. So, oh well, at least he's got Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, also he's building something that's like his company is positioned to replace the need to have a bank or like either be the bank for their users or to yeah, just be the financial services provider to obviate the need for a bank. So he'll be okay.
Now, if Strike got debanked, that would be like, you know, everything's on fire. But you know, it's just Jack Mallers.
Yeah.
So next little fun tidbit. So Signal has a backup feature now. figured out, the private messaging app. So they have a backup feature. Apparently, they launched this back in September 8th. You can actually do it on iOS now.
Cool.
Yeah, that was always been an annoyance to me. Have you ever had to try to migrate Signal from an old phone to a new phone?
Yeah, no, that's interesting. So you could always back up your account, but not your message history, it seems like.
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. So now with Signal, you can, I guess you can actually back up the message history itself. Um, cool.
Yeah, and I feel like there are some ways to do it. Like I think that it's like Android to Android, I think worked a little bit better, but it was still clunky. And it's just because of their whole like new no user foot guns philosophy. They would it would be uh you'd run the risk of like not getting all your message history because they weren't going to do anything that would accidentally, leak your message history or something like that. But now there's an opt-in if you really, really absolutely need those, messages backed up, you can opt in to do these secure backups. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, this is cool. This is something we talk about at my company. I also work on a chat app that really cares about user privacy and doesn't want to leak anything to the server. And um, yeah, it's really hard to figure out how to back up messages that are end-to-end encrypted when the server doesn't even know that these messages really exist.
Yeah.
Like you have to do very sophisticated things. So right now, yes, this is also the behavior of Fetty.
I mean, I've talked about this before at the Jordan Bravo on Cyber Computing show, and like, his philosophy is just like, disappearing messages all the time, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's enough for some people, but some people want to be able to look through and
Yeah.
reference the conversations they had.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I can see both sides of it, but it's like we do leave a big trail, so we leave a huge digital footprint and trail everywhere we go. So it's not the end of the world if you can't figure out backup. Um, it's like an experience people expect, I guess, nowadays with iMessage, and you get a new iPhone and all your iMessage content is automatically there, and all the privacy focused apps don't always have that experience. So
Yep. Yeah, I mean Telegram took a different path. Like Telegram is not private by default, but then they have a privacy mode. They have secret chats if you care about privacy. And I bet I don't know if those secret chats actually get backed up. But yeah, it's always a balance between being super private and having phenomenal,
Yeah.
never think about it UX.
Yeah.
So it's cool that Signal finally found a way to do this.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, that's all the kind of topics, the topics that I got. Where should we? I guess we can read our zaps and all of that. But do you have anything else you want to chat about while we're here on the air?
Maybe one thing I was thinking about is what are you thankful for? It's Thanksgiving. It's for Bitcoiners. There's a lot to be thankful for the world like Bitcoin existing. Stephen, do you have anything you're thankful for in the world, in Bitcoin or otherwise?
Oh, just thankful for my girlfriend, thankful for the wonderful community we have here in Atlanta, and everybody who shows up every week to learn about Bitcoin and Freedom Tech together, and that's the important stuff in life.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm thankful for you, Stephen. I'm thankful for the community you've built here. Thankful for Bitcoin as an industry of having so many motivated, talented people working together on something beautiful and to solve real problems. So, I'm super excited for the next year.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at our zaps and wrap it up here. I'm going to share the screen again here. What are we doing? That looks like the right screen. So we're on, the Monday after we do the stream, we post this to Fountain, and you can go to fountain.fm and you can find an episode, and if you want to leave us a tip in Bitcoin, you can hit the support button right there and it'll do a lightning payment. Did we get any zaps on the last episode, on the first episode?
We didn't get many, but we got one very noteworthy zap. So massive shout out to Michael Saylor himself for zapping our first episode of the podcast. Michael Saylor, it means a lot to us that you want to send us money and support the work we're doing. So thank you so much. It means a lot to the audience. If you want to be as cool as Michael Saylor and get your zap read aloud on the show, you can zap us. At the end of every show, I'll go through the zaps and acknowledge everybody who is supporting us. So thank you, Michael Saylor, and hopefully there'll be more to come next week.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge that somebody like Michael Saylor wants to support Bitcoin open source software and having these sorts of, open discussions about Bitcoin technical development. So we really appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, we will see you next time.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Black Friday. Thanks for joining.
Let's see. How do I end a live stream?